Hello, people. How are you today? I hope you are fine. Remember, today we are going to study the Unit 32. This is Miss Petri speaking, and I'm going to follow you with the Unit 32. And now I'm going to work with the Unit 33. That is about arrivals and departures according to the level General 1. During this unit, we are going to study number 1, expressing obligation. We are going to learn how we can express obligation in English. In the number 2, we are going to study the modals have, must, and need. In the number 3, we are going to study the zero conditional. And finally, we are going to work with some exercises according to the unit. Yes? Okay. Get prepared for a grammar class. Number 2, interactive image. Number 3, conversation class. Number 4, a Kahoot activity. Number 5, escape room. And number 6, the grammar reminder. So are you ready to start to explore this unit? I hope yes. Just follow me and we are going to start with the number 1 that is about a grammar class. All the time the grammar class is about the explanation of the structures we are going to focus on today. So let's go ahead and come to your mind all that you have learned, and then we are going to introduce this part. Okay? Okay, let's talk about arrivals and departures. In the general grammar, we are going to see how we are going to talk about this. First, expressing obligation that are the modals must, have, and need. And the zero conditional that is if the clause mean is clause if plus a structure in present and another structure in present. It is important that you take note of this because we are going to follow with the same content, and this is basic, okay? Let's repeat again. For expressing obligation, we are going to use must, have to, plus the present, plus another present. Okay. Expressing obligation. For example, you must study grammar from time to time. It's an obligation, it's something that you are obliged to do. It's mandatory, it's necessary that you do it. There are different ways to express obligation. Let's review the main ones. Must, have to, need. Depending on the source, you'll find that must and have to are both modal verbs. Have to. If you have to do something, it is necessary for you to do it. It's a law, an obligation, or a fact. Example, you have to get a visa if you want to go to Russia. We have to wear a mask if we want to go to the mall. I have to go to the doctor later today. Let's repeat again. Have to. If you have to do something, it is necessary for you to do it. It's a law, an obligation, or a fact. Tienes que, tengo que. It's mandatory. It's an obligation, okay? You have to get a visa if you want to go to Russia. If you don't have a visa, it's impossible that you go to Russia because this is a law that you have to do. It's not any other more than having a visa, okay? Then we have to wear a mask if we want to go to the mall. If you don't wear a mask, you don't go to the mall because you're not going to be admitted to the entrance, okay? You know about the pandemic, all the time we have to wear a mask for anything that you wear, for everybody, everyone, everywhere. You had to wear a mask because it was a kind of mandatory situation and a law that we had to do it because of the situation of the pandemic. And then I have to go to the doctor later today. I need to go to the doctor because I feel ill, I don't feel well, and maybe I need to control my sickness. I don't know. But it is a kind of necessity that you have, okay? Must. If you talk about must, is another expression to talk about something that is mandatory to do. If you must do something, it is necessary for you to do it. But this is often your opinion or a rule that you have made yourself. I must remember to you a birthday card for Alice today. We see must not have to in informal written notices or rules that an organization has made itself. All students must be at the examination half 15 minutes before the exam. Okay, let me repeat again. If you must do something, it is necessary for you to do it. But this is often your opinion or a rule that you have made yourself. Remember, this is the difference that we have comparing with the other, have to. Have to is for law, but in the case of must, we are going to talk about something that is necessary but based in your opinion. A rule that you made yourself. For example, I must remember to buy a birthday card for Alice today. It's something that I feel obliged to do because because in my opinion, Alice for me is important. But Alice is not a law. Alice is not asking me for mandatory to do it. It's my opinion, okay? Next, we see must not have to in informal written notices or rules that an organization has made itself. All the students must be at the examination half 15 minutes before the exam. What happened here? I'm talking about students that have this exam and they have to be, or they must be at the examination half 15 minutes before the exam. This is something about an opinion, about the mandatory that is done by a person based on an opinion. Why? Because maybe the students have to be very punctual in order to start the examination and prepare for everything, okay? Then, we can often use either have to or must in a sentence, but be careful. There's a big difference in meaning between don't have to and mustn't in negative, okay? If you don't have to do something, it isn't necessary to do it, but you can if you want. If you don't have to finish the exercises in the platform today, tomorrow will be fine. You don't have to finish the exercises in the platform today, tomorrow will be fine. If you mustn't do something, it means don't do it. It is necessary not to do it. Employees mustn't send passwords by email. I mustn't make any mistakes this time. Repeat. If you mustn't do something, it means don't do it. It is necessary not to do it. Employees mustn't send passwords by email. I mustn't make any mistakes this time. The form. We use have to, must, plus infinitive without to. Must is the same form for all persons. I, you, he, she, it, etc. For everybody, we use must. There is no any changes in the structure. Have to changes to has to in the third person singular, he, she, it. Because this is a kind of expression done in present. If I say, ella tiene que trabajar, she has to work. Yo tengo que trabajar, I have to work. Because I'm talking about a third person is the only exception in has. But when I'm talking about must, there is no any exception, okay? What about the positive? Karen has to get up at 6 every day in order to get to work on time. You must drive more carefully or you will have an accident. Karen has to get up at 6 every day in order to get to work on time. Why? Because in the work we have an obligation to go at the time and a specific time. So I use has to. In the case of Karen, is has because it's a third person. You must drive more carefully or you will have an accident. When I'm talking about you must drive more careful is because I think, in my opinion, about my experience, that if you don't drive carefully, you are going to have an accident. But this is not a law that is having a mandatory situation for you to drive. Okay, when I'm talking about the authorities or the roads, we are going to have mandatory situations, of course, that you cannot exceed the limit of the driving. Okay, let's move. Negative. You don't have to take a towel. The swimming pool provides them. They're expecting us to call, so we mustn't forget. Again, you don't have to take a towel. The swimming pool provides them. They're expecting us to call, so we mustn't forget. In the first one, they are talking that it's not necessary to wear a towel because the swimming pool provides it. But in the second one, I'm talking about an expectation. They're expecting us to call. Says they are feeling that I'm going to call you, so we mustn't forget. Okay, let's go. Questions. It is possible to ask questions with must plus the subject, but it is much more common to use do or does. Subject plus have to and a question mark. Do I have to come to the meeting tomorrow? Must I come to the meeting tomorrow? In this case, I'm referring to a question that if we remember the simple present, usually in the simple present, we use the auxiliary do or does at the beginning. In this case, I'm going to combine this using the verb have to, because the verb have to is expressed in present. So in negative, I'm going to say, do I have to come to the meeting tomorrow? If I'm talking about a person that is in third person, for example, Sarah, does she have to come to the meeting tomorrow? Because it's Sarah, I'm going to say, does Sarah have to come to the meeting tomorrow? Depending on the person, I'm going to use do or does for the questions, okay? And about must, I say, must I come to the meeting tomorrow? It's different. I'm not using any auxiliary. I use the must at the beginning and then the subject and the complement. Take note the future and the past. There is no future or past form of must. We use will have to future and have to past. There is no future or past form of must. We use will have to future and have to past. It's too late now. You'll have to talk to her tomorrow. All the trains were canceled, so we had to get a taxi. Did you have to write it all again? Okay, let's analyze this. Take note, the future and the past. As I told you before, these times are expressed in present. But what about the future and the past? There is no future or past form of must. And we say, we use will have to, tendré que, and had to, tuve que. It's too late now. You'll have to talk to her tomorrow. Es demasiado tarde ahora. Tendrás que llamarla mañana. The have to future is the contraction of will. Next, all the trains were canceled, so we have to get a taxi. Todos los trenes fueron cancelados, entonces tuvimos que tomar un taxi. Do you have to write it all again? Do you have to write it all again? Is a question in past. The auxiliary did. This is the only form in which I'm going to use the future and the form when I'm going to use the past. Have got to. In informal British English, we sometimes use have got to instead of have to. They mean the same. You got to get a visa if you want to go to the US. Again, you got to get a visa if you want to go to the US. Have we got to send these orders today? Again, the informal British English, we sometimes use have got to instead of have to. They mean the same. Well, what is the variation here? When I'm talking about American English, I say have to. But when I'm talking about the British, I'm going to use the particle got before to. If you say have got to, it's British English. If you say have to, it's American English, okay? In informal British English, we sometimes use have got to instead have to. They mean the same. You got to get a visa if you want to go to the US. And we got to send these orders today. In American, you can say you've with the contraction, you've to get a visa if you want to go to the US. Have we got to send these orders today in British? How is in American? How this could be in American? Have we to send these orders today? Have we? No, in this case we use, do we have to send these orders today? Of course, because the auxiliary for present is do. So the correct one would be, do we have to send these orders today? Okay, I want you to write this on your notebooks. Please write how the structures could be in American English and how the structures could be in British English and take a comparison. Okay, then we use both have got to for obligation and had better for advice allowed in speaking. This is another variation, okay? Let's pay attention. You got to be careful with the cat. You'd better get something a bit quieter. I'd better go. I mustn't miss the helicopter. I'd better. Yo mejor could be in Spanish. If I translate, could be yo mejor o yes, yo preferiría o yo mejor hago esto, yo mejor hago lo otro, okay? Maybe, something like that. Because in Spanish, the sense is different. Again, we use both have got to for obligation and had better for advice allowed in speaking. You got to be careful with the cat. You'd better get something a bit quieter. I'd better go. I mustn't miss the helicopter. Mejor me voy. No puedo perder el helicóptero. Mejor consíguete algo más tranquilo. Tienes que ser cuidadoso con el gato, ¿ok? Next. Must and have to, the rules. Answer questions to discover some rules for using must and have to. This is very interesting because we are going to check how we can identify when it's must, when it's have to. Both have to and must express obligation. Do you remember is true or false? Both have to and must express obligation. What do you think? Is true or false? I say is true. That's right. Must and have to both express obligation, of course. The only difference, what is? The difference is that we use have to for law. That is the key word, talking about something that is for law. And must is something that is obligation for a opinion, for a feeling, for a kind of moral, okay? Which do you use to talk about your opinion or a rule you made yourself? Must or have to? What do you think? Do you remember? I told you before, what is the difference? Must is for obligations. Have to are for obligations too. What is the difference? Have to is for a law and must is for opinion. And they are, which do you use to talk about your opinion or a rule you've made yourself? Of course, it is must. Yeah, must. That's right. We often use must to talk about your opinions or rules we make you for ourselves. Then we have next question. The negative forms mustn't and don't have to have similar meanings. True or false? The negative forms mustn't and don't have to have similar meanings. True or false? What do you think? True? No, it's false. Mustn't and don't have to have different meanings. Don't confuse. Try to clarify this. If you mustn't do something, it is unnecessary for you to do it. Necessary that you don't do it. Oh, what is it? If you mustn't do something, it is. Si no tienes que hacer algo, esto es. A. Necessary for you to do it. Necesario para ti que lo hagas. Letter B. Necessary that you don't do it. Necesario que no lo hagas. What do you think? A or B? A or B? Let's see. Letter A. No. If you mustn't do something, it means don't do it. So the correct one is B. Mustn't means don't do it. Again, letter A, no, you mustn't do something. It means don't do it. And letter B, of course, mustn't means don't do it. Very easy, right? Are you understanding? Do you have any doubts? Question 5 of 7. If you don't have to do something, letter A, it's necessary that you do it. Letter B, it's necessary that you don't do it. Letter C, It doesn't matter either way. What do you think? A, B, or C? A? No, it doesn't matter if you don't do it, of course. Letter B? No, it doesn't matter if you don't do it. Letter C? That's the right answer. If we say don't have to, it doesn't matter if we don't do it. Of course, no tienes que hacerlo. Doesn't matter. 6. What follows have to? Infinitive with to go. Infinitive without to, go. What follows have to? Infinitive with to or infinitive without to? What do you think? This is important that you notice these structure changes. So the correct answer is A. Run. After have to, we use the infinitive without to, like you have to finish this quiz. Of course, the correct answer is B. After have to, we use the infinitive without to, like you have to finish this quiz. Yeah. Why? Because have to is the main structure and I have the particle to. It's not necessary to say have to do 2 times, just one. Then we have question 7 of 7. Which is more common in questions? Must or have to? What do you think? It's very interesting, this question. Which is more common in question? Must or have to? What do you think? Let's see, must. That's not right. You can use must in some questions, like must you eat with your mouth open? But it's much more common to use have to. So the correct answer is have to. Correct. We can use must in some questions, like must you eat with your mouth open? But it's much more common to use have to. Okay, this is the end of this activity. And we are going to move to the other step that is about semi-modal need. Need, necesitar, necesito, necesitas. Present and future. Need can have behaved either as a modal verb or as a main verb. As a modal verb, need is most typically used in negative sentences or in affirmative sentences with a negative meaning. It expresses absence of obligation, of necessity, and it is followed by a bare infinitive. Again, need can behave either as a modal verb or as a main verb. That's why we say it's a semi-modal. Por eso se llama semi-modal, because it's a modal verb, verbo modal, and main verb, verbo principal. 2 functions. As a modal verb, need is mostly typically used in negative sentences or in affirmative sentences with a negative meaning. It expresses absence of obligation, of necessity, and it is followed by a bare infinitive. You needn't worry about that. No necesitas preocuparte por eso. No one need be surprised at what happened. You need only just ask. I doubt whether I need help you. The auxiliary verb need remains unchanged. Whatever be the number of person of the subject, it does not have s in the third person singular. Need as a main verb is followed by a to infinitive. Okay? In the previous, we observed that we didn't have the necessity to use the particle to. But now, in this case, I'm going to use it because I'm talking about a main verb. Do you have a minute? I need to talk to you about something. I don't need to be told that I should lose weight. Do you need to use the hair dryer? If you want good results, you will need to work harder. Observe two, 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 two. Why? Because I'm talking about need as a main verb. If need as a main verb, I'm going to use to after need. In the previous, we started need as a modal. When it's a modal, we don't use the particle to. You needn't worry about that. No one need be surprised at what happened. You need only just ask. I doubt whether I need help you. This is a modal. But as a main verb, need to talk, don't need to be, do you need to use, you will need to work. Right? Okay. Now we are going to move to the zero conditional. The zero conditional main structure is if, present, present. Keep this in mind, please. Keep this in mind because it's very important. Meaning, use the zero conditional for facts, things that are generally true or that you believe to be true. You can use it or when and the meaning doesn't change. When it rains, the ground gets wet. If you drink a lot of fizzy drinks, your teeth get damaged. I get a stomachache if I eat too much cake. Let's analyze. Use the zero conditional for facts, things that are generally true or that you believe to be true. You can use if or when at the beginning, at the meaning doesn't change. If or when and the meaning doesn't change, okay? Usually or typically a conditional use if. Sometimes we can use when. When it rains, the ground gets wet. Cuando llueve, la tierra se moja. If you drink a lot of fizzy drinks, your teeth get damaged. Si tú tomas demasiadas bebidas frías, tus dientes se dañarán. I get a stomachache if I eat too much cake. Me da dolor de estómago si como mucho pastel. When you use this zero conditional, we are talking about reactions that have a result that is typically done. For example, if I don't sleep well, I'm going to be, I am tired all the day. Si no duermo bien, estoy cansado todo el día. If I don't eat my lunch, I have a stomachache. Si no tomo mi almuerzo, me da dolor de estómago. This is a biological or physical reaction about something that is in present to the present too. Okay. Both parts of the sentence are in the present simple. If you work on the computer too long, your eyes start hurting. I get terrible headaches when I eat chocolate. If you work on the computer too long, your eyes start hurting. Si tú trabajas demasiado en la computadora, tus ojos se empiezan a lastimar o empiezan a arder. I get terrible headaches when I eat chocolate. Me dan dolores terribles de cabeza cuando como chocolate. The position when is in the middle. And also we can use if at the beginning of the sentence. The two parts can come in any order. Your eyes start hurting if you work on the computer too long. When I eat chocolate, I get terrible headaches. Observe, the structures are the same. The only that is changed is the way they are structured and organized, but the meaning is equal. If you work on the computer too long, your eyes start hurting. Your eyes start hurting if you work on the computer too long. I get terrible headaches when I eat chocolate. When I eat chocolate, I get terrible headaches. And this is the end of the grammar. Thank you so much. But we are not going to finish here. We are going to continue with the second step. Okay, and this is the time to go to interactive image. In this image, what I want you to see is the vocabulary and the definition of the words that you find here, okay? Okay, here we are. Let's see. Phrasal verbs related to travel. Oh, these phrasal verbs are compounded by a verb base and a preposition, usually, and combined, they have different meaning. Okay, let's go. The number one, see off. Go to the airport or a station to say goodbye to someone. Set off, start a journey. Get in when the airplane or train arrives. Hold up, to delay when traveling. Get off, to leave a train, plane, or bus. Check out. Leave the hotel after paying. Check in, arrive, and register at the airport or hotel. Okay, let's push and another. Let's click here. Types of classes in an airplane. Economy seats, they are commonly called travel or coach class, offer basic accommodations. When you fly and you are usually purchased by leisure travelers traveling for business or pleasure. Premium economy seats, which are a slight improvement over standard. Economy seats unusually provide more distance between the rows of seats and occasionally may include seats that are a little bit wider and therefore more comfortable. Business class, also called executive class seats, which are usually purchased by some traveling for business and which are usually a higher quality of seats. First class seats, which offer the most comfortable accommodations available and are generally more expensive than all other types of seats. Okay, then you know the types of classes in an airplane. Economy seats, premium economy seats, business class, and first class seats. In which seats do you travel? Let me know. Okay, in this airport, you meet a lot of people. We see a lot of people here, and they are accommodating in different classes. Well, interesting. Then let's move to this. What is it? The most amazing airports. King Fahd International Airport. With a total area of 780 square kilometers, this airport is the largest airport in the world in terms of total area. Oh my God. With a total area of 780 square kilometers, this airport is the largest airport in the world in terms of total area. Oh my God, it's very big. However, not the whole area of the airport is actually utilized. When it is, this airport will have an area of a small country. Interesting. What is the other airport that is bigger? Dubai International Airport. Of course, Dubai. Dubai is Dubai. With 88 million passengers, 2.65 million tons of cargo, and 400,493 aircraft movements, in 2017, it is the world's busiest airport by international passenger traffic and has been so for 4 consecutive years. Oh my God, 88 million passengers and 2.65 million tons of cargo. And you see 493 aircraft movements in 2017. Really, really big. Dubai is another way. Okay, let's click here and I see useful words as the security control at the airport. Metal detector, machine used to detect metal devices or weapons before entering to the lungs. Tray, flat container in which passenger place on metal devices to be checked in an X-ray machine. Tight security expression. It means that the security control is very strict. Setup Smith. If the metal detector sets off, it reacts cause there's presence of metal. Ooh. The setup Smith is the metal detector set off. It reacts cause there is presence of metal. Is that pee-pee when there is something wrong in your suitcase? Okay. And finally, we see this is the Mexico International Airport. Do you imagine that? Did you imagine that this airport was the International Mexican Airport? Yeah. At the beginning, it appreciates the picture and maybe it's not Mexican, but if you see the people, most of them are Mexican. But imagine how could be the international airport. Okay, this is the end of this, and then we are going to move to conversation class. Of course, this is the time to speak, and I want you to analyze what we are going to see today and discuss your questions. Okay, here we have the conversation class, and we are going to start to see some questions to answer. Do you know what this concept means? Wonder. I say wonder. Do you know what this concept means? Okay, let's see. The definition is to move about without a fixed course, aim, or goal. To roam over. To move about without a fixed course, aim, or goal. To roam over. Okay, next one. Not all those who wander are lost. John Ronald Reuel Tolkien was an English writer, poet, physiologist, and academic, best known as the author of the high fantasy works, The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Do you know this? John Ronald was an English writer, poet, philologist, and academic, best known as the author of the high fantasy works The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. And this is a typical phrase. Not all those who wander are lost. Okay. Icebreaker. What is an icebreaker? When you travel or go to a new place, do you usually wander around? Have you ever done it? roam to distress yourself, or maybe to meditate about something? What could be some of the benefits of wandering around? Just think about it. When you travel or go to a new place, do you usually wander around? Have you ever done it? Roam to distress yourself, or maybe to meditate about something? What could be done? What could be some of the benefits of wandering around? Again, let's check what is the meaning in order for you to recover. The meaning of wander: to move about without a fixed course, aim, or goal, to run over. What is that? Okay, next one. Vocabulary related to traveling. Let's see the vocabulary. To travel, pack light. When someone says they need to pack or travel light, it means they can bring a lot of things with them or their trip. I'm only going to the south for the weekend, so I have to pack light. To travel and pack light. When someone says they need to pack or travel light, it means they can bring a lot of things with them or their trip. I'm only going to the south for the weekend, so I have to pack light. I means when someone goes and travel and you don't need to have a lot of suitcase, a pack light. Something light for you to wear and no more. No many things. For you to go light and adventure. To hit the road. To hit the road means to start a journey or to leave. It can also be used in normal daily life when you decide it's time for you to go home. I've been there long enough. It's time to hit the road. Es en Spanish como volver al redil, right? To live it out, to live it up, to live it up. Whenever you are having a really good time and enjoying your holiday, without worrying about anything, not even about money, you can use this idiom. We're really going to live it up in Las Vegas next month. Having a really good time and enjoying your holiday without worrying about anything, not even about money. You can use this idiom. We're really going to live it up in Las Vegas next month. Such a great concept. Live out of a suitcase. Live out of a suitcase. To live out of a suitcase means that a person stays in many different places for only a short period of time and with only enough things to put in a suitcase. My cousin has been living out of a suitcase for years. Her mother wishes she would settle down already. Nomadland, a movie by Chloe Zhao in 2020. In the American West, a community of nomads travel the country living out of their cars and vans. These individuals and their unique lifestyle serve as inspiration for the six-time Oscar-nominated film Nomadland. Have you seen it? Oh, interesting. Nomadland. Do you want to see this? Have you ever Have you ever seen this movie? I didn't know. I didn't know about it. Nomadland. Here we have some opinions about this. Some of the comments you can find in YouTube, another way of practicing, not just reading them, but also interacting with other people. Okay, we have an opinion about Cardian Dawn. I watched this movie tonight. Truly a beautiful family and makes you realize how you truly can find joy in the simple things. A second comment, I grew up within 40 miles San Bernardino Valley of the Mojave or so-called SoCal and just love to spend time off there. I've seen it spend long periods of my life traveling via motor home, pickup, camper, kayak, pantsuit, bicycle, backpack, and sailboat. Different countries, many times has spent a close to nature as I can get primitive camping. I am nomad. 70 years young and still going strong. Oh my God, interested. Reading these comments, you can also find new vocabulary. As a member of the seasonal camping community, I have nomad friends. Some are pushed into by emotional or economic needs, and others choose it knowing. One of my best friends who had lost her home at the 2008 housing slum once told me, Don't pity me. I was forced into a van and found a freedom I couldn't give up for any amount of money. Oh my God, what a great experience. Let's talk about this. What could be some of the pros and cons of living this kind of life? Would you Could this lifestyle be possible in Mexico? What do you think? I think in Mexico it's not possible. It's a kind of dangerous, but I don't know. What about you? What do you think? Do you think you could live like this, at least for some time? What about you? Do you think it's possible to live like this? Would you like it? This is an interesting question. And what are the pros and the cons of living in this kind of life? Maybe you are going to have a lot of money, you are going to face many difficulties during your adventure. And would you be traveling in a camper, in a bicycle, in a motorbike? Imagine if you became a nomad because of the circumstances obliged you. How this could be possible? Interesting question. Okay, this is the end of this part, and then we are going to move to. Okay, and this is the time to go to the activity Kahoot. In the Kahoot, we are going to review some questions about what we have studied before. So pay attention, we are going to move to the Kahoot activity. Ready? Number one, which modal verbs express prohibition or bad idea? Had to, shouldn't, mustn't, or might. Which modal verb express prohibition or bad idea? What is the answer? Yes, mustn't. That is the answer. Okay. Did you have it right? Yes, I hope so. We use need mostly in a negative way. True or false? We use need mostly in a negative way. And the answer is true, verdadero. Number 3. We use this conditional when the result will always happen. First, 0, mixed conditional, or second. What was the conditional we studied today? Do you remember the name of the conditional we studied today? And the answer is, yeah, of course, the 0 conditional is the conditional we studied today. Verdadero o falso, okay. The negative form of have to expresses the idea that something is required. The negative form of have to expresses the idea that something is required. True or false? True or false? And the answer is false. If you travel abroad, it means you need a... What do you need for traveling abroad? A CV, a license, a birthday letter, a passport. If you travel abroad, it means you need a... This is very easy, I think. There is no way that you had a mistake here. Definitely the answer is passport. Yeah, excellent. Then, if you set off, you finish your journey. I just set off, you finished your journey. True or false? If you set off, you finish your journey. True or false? False. If your flight hold up, it means that it delays, needs some reparations, it's on time, it's going to take another route. Which one? 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold up. That is the meaning. Yeah, it delays. Good. All the photographs that appear in this Kahoot were taken in France. Have you ever been in France? All the photographs that appear in this Kahoot were taken in France. What do you think? True or false? What about the picture? Is from France? False. It's not from France, of course. How many classes of seats may be found in a flight? Do you remember in the picture, in the interactive image, we found the different seats, and I repeat 2 times or 3 times more or less. 7, 2, 4, or 3. Do you remember how many classes of seats? Yes, 4 classes. And the last one, luggage is the British word for baggage. True or false? Luggage is the British word for baggage. True or false? And the answer is true, of course. In British, we say luggage, and is the word that substitutes baggage. Okay, this is the end of the Kahoot, and then we are going to move to Escape room. It's the time to go to the escape room. Okay, let's see. The escape room. What is it talking about? Let's start with the escape room. Number 1. Which modal is used to indicate prohibition? Shouldn't, mustn't, or might? It shouldn't? No. Mustn't? Yes, it was right. Mustn't. After a modal, the verb goes in. Después de un modal, el verbo va en gerund, gerundio, past participle, participio, or infinitive. Of course, infinitive. In the zero conditional, the result sometimes happens, never happens, always happens. In the zero conditional, the result sometimes happens, no, never happens, always happens. Yes, that's right. Haven't expressed the idea that something is not required, is required, it's not useful. It's not useful? No. Haven't expressed the idea that something is required? No. Having expressed the idea that something is not required. This modal is used to give advices, must, should, ought to. Ought to? No. Must? No. Must is for obligations, and should is the answer, is for advices. The first thing you do when you arrive to a hotel is, what is the first thing that you do when you arrive to a hotel? To check in, to go to your room, or to pay taxes? Of course, this is the answer. To check in. The American word for luggage is baggage, suitcase, or bag. Bag? No. Suitcase? No. In the Kahoot, we had this answer. So this is baggage. Duty-free means not paying a debt, not paying taxes, not paying for a service. Not paying for a service? No. Not paying taxes? Yeah, that's right. Those are types of classes of seats except ordinary, economic, or premium. Do you remember? I think it is ordinary. Yeah, that's correct. This document is necessary to enter to USA. Marriage documents, birth documents, or visa? Of course, this is the answer, a visa. Incredible, try again. Well, I think it's not necessary to try again, or yes? Just revise it in the previous, okay? And then we are going to move to okay, let's go to the number 6, that is the grammar reminder. In the grammar reminder, we are going to use all that we have learned. So please take your notes. If you still have some contents that you have some doubts, take your notes about the vocabulary, about the structures, because in this grammar reminder, we are going to clarify all that you have done. Okay, let's see. Well, here we have arrivals and departures. The grammar reminder. Okay, in this session, we studied must structure. Let's see what is the must structure for and how it is constructed. Must expresses a strong obligation or necessity. It often shows us that the obligation comes from the speaker, from me. I must phone my dad. It's his birthday today. Tengo que llamarle a mi padre. Es su cumpleaños hoy. It's my obligation. It's a kind of feeling, an opinion about my personal situation, okay? And the structure is pronoun plus must in positive, mustn't in negative, plus the infinitive verb. Mustn't means it's not allowed or it's a bad idea. Example, you mustn't eat so much chocolate, you'll be sick. Bad idea. You mustn't smoke here. Prohibition. Again, must expresses a strong obligation or necessity. It often shows us that the obligation comes from the speaker. I must phone my dad. It's his birthday today. Mustn't means it's not allowed or it's a bad idea. Significa que no está permitido o que es mala idea. You mustn't eat so much chocolate. You'll be sick. No debes de comer tanto chocolate, te vas a enfermar. You mustn't smoke here. No debes fumar aquí. Okay? Have to. Have to shows us that the obligation comes from outside the speaker. Use have to in the past, present, and future to express responsibility or necessity. We have to get up early. She had to work hard yesterday. They will have to arrive early. Does he have to go? And the form, pronoun have or has to. Remember, has is for the third person and the infinitive. Important to use to. The negative form of have to expresses the idea that something is not required. It is, however, possible if so desired. Example, you don't have to arrive before 8. Note, have to is conjugated as a regular verb and therefore requires an auxiliary verb in the question form or negative. Again, have to shows us that the obligations comes from outside the speaker. I mean, there is a force that is not inside me, it's an external force that obliged me about doing something. Use have to in the past, present, and future. Okay, we have to get up early. Nos tenemos que levantar temprano. ¿Por qué? Porque voy a trabajar, for example. She had to work hard yesterday. Ella tuvo que trabajar muy duro ayer. They will have to arrive early. Ellos tendrán que llegar temprano. Does he have to go? Tiene que ir él. And the structure in negative when something is not required. You don't have to arrive before 8. No tienes que llegar antes de las 8. But if you want, it's optional. It's not forbidden, it's not necessary, but it's okay. And finally, we have the zero conditional and needn't. We can make a zero conditional sentence with two present simple verbs, one if clause and one in the main clause. This conditional is used when the result will always happen. Podemos hacer el cero condicional con dos verbos en presente simple. Uno es la if clause, la cláusula sí condicional que se llama, y una en la cláusula principal. Esta condición es usada cuando el resultado siempre ocurre o siempre pasará. Form, if present simple, plus present simple. Example, if people eat too much, they get fat. It's a condition. I cannot change this condition. It's something physical, it's something biological that it happens. If I eat too much, I get fat. If I get on a diet, I get thin. For example, If I exercise, I get slim. Maybe I'm going to be a body shaped. I don't know. But the zero conditional have the if clause. La cláusula if in Spanish is si yo hago esto, si yo como, si yo trabajo, tengo dinero. Si yo no estudio, repruebo los exámenes. There is a kind of cause, una causa, and a result. And both are in present, okay? Need or needn't. We use need mostly in the negative form to indicate that there is no obligation or necessity to do something. You needn't take off your shoes. No necesitas quitarte tus zapatos. Affirmative form and affirmatives with the semi-modal need are not common and they are used in formal context. There is almost always a negative sense. No one need to know the name of the person who made the complaint. Nadie necesita saber el nombre de la persona que hizo la queja. And the question, need plus the pronoun plus the verb. Need we write this down? Maybe this is strange for you, this is rare for you, but this is the structure with need. Need we write this down? ¿Necesitamos escribir esto? I think yes, you need to write because you have to differentiate the structures we are going to study. Again, let's say in Spanish. Usamos need mayormente en la forma negativa para indicar que hay una obligación, perdón, que no hay obligación o necesidad de hacer algo. Tú no necesitas quitarte tus zapatos. You needn't take off your shoes. No necesitas quitarte los zapatos. You needn't bring money. No necesitas traer dinero, for example. You needn't study hard. No necesitas estudiar mucho. Maybe the exam is easy. A lo mejor el examen es muy fácil. Affirmative form, affirmatives with the semi-modal. Los afirmativos con el semi-modal need no son comunes y son usados en contextos formales. Y siempre hay una oración o sentido negativo. Nadie necesita saber el nombre de la persona que hizo la queja. Y en pregunta es, ¿necesitamos escribir esto? What do you think about what we have studied today? I hope you like it, that you understood everything. And this is the end of my presentation for today about the Unit 33, about all these we study arrivals and departures. Today we studied vocabulary about when we arrive in the context and the things that are forbidden and allowed in our life. Remember, must is for obligations that are from external forces that are mandatory for us. And have is for something that we are obliged, okay, outside the speaker. Okay, again, must expresses a strong obligation or necessity that we have inside. Okay, and have to is for external obligations that we have in our life. Okay. And finally, the zero conditional is for actions that are reactions that are normally occurred, that they are result, they are consequence of something. Needn't, we use a semi-modal, usually need to indicate that there is no obligation to do something. And so, if you feel that you need more practice, don't worry. We are going to continue with this in the next unit or next class. Thank you so much for your attention. It was a pleasure to be your teacher by this time. Thank you so much. See you soon.